Who's actually going to get the most out of a Miller Maxstar 161 STL TIG welder? If you're a hobbyist who only pops the shop once a month, you might wonder whether you're paying for features you'll never use. If you're a small shop owner needing consistent, clean welds on thin-wall aluminum or steel, the question becomes whether the price gap between entry-level inverter welders and this model is justified. And for anyone sitting on the fence because they've heard TIG is hard to learn, you'll want to know if this machine makes the learning curve any less steep. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the hesitation most buyers feel, the fear of buying a welder that sits half full of knobs and never gets turned on. The Maxstar 161 STL isn't a compact stick-only unit you can stash in a drawer and forget about. It's designed for people who actually plan to use TIG welding on a regular basis, whether that's repairing a motorcycle frame, building a custom bike rack, or tackling thin-sheet automotive repairs. The first thing I looked at when researching this class of welder was the typical workflow. You need a machine that starts up quickly, holds a steady arc at low amperage, and can transition between AC and DC without a separate transformer. The Maxstar does all that, which immediately cuts down on the setup time that can kill a weekend project. If you're a beginner, the biggest practical hurdle with TIG is often the torch control, not the machine itself. The Maxstar 161 STL comes with a foot pedal that lets you dial in current while you're welding, which is a real convenience when you're learning to maintain a steady hand. In practice, I saw a few YouTube tutorials where beginners could keep the torch steady and adjust the heat on the fly without stopping to twist a dial. That kind of hands-free control is a genuine strength for anyone still mastering the technique. On the flip side, the machine doesn't have a built-in gas solenoid. You'll have to hook up an external regulator for argon or helium. For a shop that already has a gas tank, that's a non-issue, but for a garage hobbyist who thought Al-Anon meant no extra parts, it's a hidden trade-off. What about daily usability? The Maxstar 161 STL is a 140 amp inverter that can output a smooth, low amperage arc down to 10 amps. That low end is crucial when you're welding thin 1mm steel or automotive paneling. You can keep the heat low enough to avoid warping the material. In real-world tests I've seen, users report being able to tack weld a 1mm sheet of stainless steel without burning through the metal, a task that many higher amperage stick welders struggle with. The machine also offers a built-in AC balance control, which means you can fine-tune the cleaning action on aluminum without swapping out parts. If you spend any time on aluminum, that feature alone can save you an hour or two of trial and error. Now let's talk about who should walk away. If your welding needs are limited to occasional stick repairs, say, fixing a fence post or a backyard project, the Maxstar is overkill. A basic stick welder will cost a fraction of the price and won't require you to buy shielding gas or a specialized torch. Likewise, if you're planning to do heavy-duty structural steel work that routinely demands 200+ amps, you'll find the 140 amp ceiling limiting. For those users, a larger transformer-based machine, or a dedicated metal inert gas (MIG) system might make more sense. The Maxstar shines when the focus is on clean, precise welds on relatively thin material, not on brute force steel fabrication. From an economic standpoint, the value of the Maxstar really shows up when you factor in the cost of accessories. Miller bundles the unit with a suitable TIG torch and foot pedal, but you'll still need a gas regulator, a decent quality hose, and a set of tungsten tips. If you already own these, the incremental cost of the welder drops dramatically. Conversely, a first-time buyer, who has to purchase everything from scratch, should add $150, $200 to the total outlay. Still, compared to other comparable 140 amp TIG welders on the market, the Maxstar's price is competitive, especially when you consider Miller's reputation for reliable inverter technology and service support. One practical weakness that popped up during my deep dive is the ergonomics of the torch holder. The standard Miller torch that ships with the Maxstar is a bit heavier than the lightweight aftermarket options you can find for $30, $40. When you're doing a marathon session of thin-walled aluminum welding, that extra ounce can translate into hand fatigue after an hour. It's not a showstopper, but it's something you'll feel if you're not accustomed to holding a TIG torch for long periods. Another trade-off is the absence of a built-in digital display. The Maxstar uses analog dials for current and voltage, which some users appreciate for their simplicity, but it does mean you'll need a separate meter or a smartphone app if you want precise readouts for certification work. Let's bring